Hello there, welcome back to another show. This is an impromptu one. Basically, it's going to cover films of the summer scene. Because I'm not doing it next week. Next week I'm doing one or two things in real life, so I'm not going to do any video next week. So this will kind of cover stuff for now. So it is impromptu, so you'll hear background noises and stuff, so there's not much I can do with that. So I'm going to cover, I've already covered two films in the summer. I've already covered Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, which I liked a lot. I covered Jurassic World Dominion in a Jurassic World trilogy video. I did not like that film at all. There are a couple other ones I've seen that were big blockbuster films. The first one was Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick is obviously the sequel to Top Gun. I did a video about Top Gun and Days of Thunder just before this one came out. And the film's good. A lot of people are loving this film. I did not love this film, but I thought it was a good, enjoyable film. It's one of those ones that's like, it's not aimed at me. I went with my nephew, he loves planes and stuff, and he enjoyed it. It's not a film that's aimed at me, it does not have the things that it's interested in does not interest me, so it's going to be a barrier to entry for me in this one. Plus, I'm not really that keen on the first one. You go to my video, you can see. But it's still enjoyable. I think it's a lot better than the first one, to be honest. It gets rid of some of the trashier stuff in the first one. It is much more of a man on a mission movie where Cruise is playing a character who's been in the military for 30 years. He has not moved up ranks very much. He gets in trouble with people all the time for doing things he shouldn't do. At the start of the film, he's a test pilot and some stuff out. It's a new plane out, and he disobeys orders and breaks the speed limit. So he sets a record, but he still gets in trouble. Turns out that Val Kilmer's character, first one, Iceman, is protecting him. So that's why he has never been fired for his insubordination. And basically, he's given the last chance. Go back to Top Gun to actually train some pilots for a mission that's, unnamed place. We have to blow up this base, to protect America. It's rather dodgy stuff because if you're European, you're thinking, okay, they don't have the right to attack other countries. This is an act of war. This is all the bullshit we complained about in the first Top Gun. But that's fine. It's just a man on a mission movie. Ultimately, it's not rah 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 America anyway. It's about a guy trying to deal with his past and deal with where he'll stand in life. The mission's just a mission. It could be anything. If it was a World War II movie by mission to destroy the Nazis, if it was the trouble there's no wars going on just now apart from obviously Ukraine, but this was made before that. So they have to find a fictitious thing for them to attack, and they found one, and it's enjoyable. It reminded me a lot of, there's an episode of Battlestar Galactica called The Hand of God. Well, Battlestar Galactica has two episodes called Hand of God. The original was The Hand of God, and the remake's The Hand of God, probably the remake one. And that is a similar mission into doing a very perilous drop and blow something up that's hard to get a hold of. It's something that's been done a lot. They did in Force Awakens too, this thing, because I think everybody saw Hand of God and just stole from it, and Hand of God was stealing from stuff, old movies from the past as well, so it's not like a really new thing, but that was the one that in recent times everyone saw Battlestar Galactica, and that was a good episode, and that was a good setup. It goes back to Star Wars and the Death Star run. But even Star Wars is taking off damn busters, and so it's a convention. But this one was specifically reminding me of the Hand of God episode, which is fine. I liked the episode. I liked the mission they had there. And the mission has a lot of difficulties. They have to fly through one area really fast, then brake fast, and then come down at a certain angle and hit something at a certain angle. And just two planes have to do it. One plane has to below the protection up, another plane has to hit the thing. So it's a nice problem for them to solve, and that's what they're training for throughout the film. Well, Cruise is trying to get his life back together. He has a relationship with Jennifer Connelly in this one. She's a daughter. They've had an on and off relationship over the years. Now he's coming back and he's starting to reassess what he's doing, what's meaningful to him. He's dealing with the son of his best pal from the first film, who he has to keep an eye on, and they have a fractured relationship because he doesn't think this kid is good enough. You know, he's not trying to keep him back because he's been bad. He's just like, he thinks he might be too by the book to really succeed. So there's lots of tension. So the tension between the character played by Miles Teller and Cruise is a focus for the mission, and his relationship with Jennifer Connelly is the focus for the human being scenes without the planes. It's an enjoyable film. It's very predictable. You know where it's going to go in every step. But it's kind of like Christopher McQuarrie was brought in to rewrite the script during production, or just the production was about to start, and he's worked with Cruise in a lot of films like Edge of Tomorrow, The Mission Impossibles. So he came in, he kind of sorted a lot of it out. And Joseph Kosinski, who did Oblivion with Cruise, and he also did Tron Legacy and Only the Brave, directs it. And he does a good job of it. It's not as stylized as Tony Scott. Tony Scott, you can see him a mile away, his style. This one's a bit more anonymous. There's not an actual style here, but it's well directed. They've been shooting stuff up in the air. A lot of the plane scenes are terrific. You can see why they want to keep this one for the cinema and not have it released on streaming straight away. And it paid off because everyone went to see this film again and again for the plane scenes because they were out of this world. So there's lots of really good stuff in this film. You know, it's enjoyable. I had a lot of fun with it. It is as predictable as a World War II movie. You know, it's like, you know all the beats, and the director and the writers, they all know the beats too. It's not like they're trying to do something new. It's like, okay, we know the beats, we're going to try and have fun with the scenes within these beats. And we'll just have a good time. And that's what the film is. It's a good time with a predictable story. Because the third act was a bit off the rails in the sense of it's less realistic because they get shot down behind enemy lines and they have to survive and do some improbable stuff. But it's fun. It's silly, but it's fun. And it's just an enjoyable film. So it's like, if you want a guaranteed enjoyable film, Top Gun Maverick is it for the summer. You know, it's the one that everyone seems to like. You know, not everyone's going to love it, but most people like it who see it. You know, there are a few exceptions, but generally it's a well-liked film. And it's done really well. I mean, it's not like Doctor Strange Multiple Madness, which was more divisive in a sense that some people really didn't like it, but a lot of people did. But it was because it was a bit weird. This one's pretty much straight ahead what it is. There's another Marvel film that I've seen, which is Thor: Love and Thunder, which is enjoyable. I think it's a much more fun movie than it's been given the reputation as by people talking about it. I think it got the backlash of, this is a guy who did Ragnarok. We loved that. We loved Jojo Rabbit. We love all the stuff he's doing. And it was like, inevitably there was going to be a backlash for maybe something you didn't do as well as we were expecting. And this is the film we got it. And it's like, suddenly you've got like people saying, this is a terrible film, it's the worst in the series. It's like, no, it's not. Strange enough, I think Thor, the original Thor, is the worst in the series. And it's even not that bad. I just think the other ones are more interesting. I mean, even the Dark World, Thor Dark World, has lots and lots of problems, but it is an interesting problem film. And it's a bit odd. This one is, I mean, Love and Thunder's strong. It's got a really good ending. It's got lots of great moments throughout it. It's more of a comedy than an action movie. That's the thing you have to remember. There's not that much action in it. There's bits and bobs of action, but it's a comedy. It's a travelogue with these characters moving through situations. What happens in the fights doesn't matter so much as what happens going up to the fights and after the fights. The fights themselves are just there and gone in 2 minutes. It's not an action movie. If you look at it as an action movie, you're going to be disappointed because it's not an action movie. It's a comedy with Thor trying to work out what he wants from life and dealing with the fact that his girlfriend now has his power in a way that actually makes sense when you see how it happened within the world of Thor. And also, he's dealing with the fact that she had cancer, and the more she becomes Thor, the more she loses her energy and the more she's drained. So doing this may make her feel better, but it's also killing her. So you get these storylines that are floating through the film, and it's about an adventure. They're trying to get the kids back of Asgard, of New Asgard, that have been stolen by Christian Bale's villain, God the God Killer. And he's out to kill the gods because he was a believer and he found his own god. He was betrayed by his own god, so he's going to kill all gods because they're all selfish. Which the film does not dispute. The film pretty much portrays the gods as really awful people, and you can get behind the villain in lots of ways. The villain goes too far, but you can get behind what he's about, what's troubling him, and what's troubling him is echoing what's troubling Thor. So it's like they're two people on a journey that are echoing each other. And Bale is great as a villain. He's got some wonderfully creepy bits, and he's talking to the children he's kidnapped, and he's going full Pied Piper and full old Germanic fairy story, weird creepy guy with a purpose. And Thor, he's going with his pal Karg, he's going with Jane, who's now the mighty Thor, and he's going with Tessa Thompson's character Valkyrie as well. So there's a group of them going on this mission. I heard there was more stuff in the film that was cut out, and you can feel it. It feels like it goes from the beginning to the middle to the end in quick chunks, and you feel there's bits that were in between that have been taken out for pacing that would have helped the film, because the film does feel a bit bitty. It feels like it's start, stop in a sense, because you can sense there's bits missing in the story. I mean, the basic beats are there, but you feel like in a fuller story you'd have one or two more moments, because it feels like they go from one place to the other place to the other place and that's it, rather than having a few more places in between where they have to try and investigate and find ways to get to. There's that kind of element to it, like the short stuff that maybe wasn't quite strong enough. So there was that kind of feeling that the storyline's a lot clunkier than it was in Ragnarok. On the plus side, the actual dramatic meat is actually there. Like, Thor is feeling insecure because he's lost the dad bod from Endgame, but he's still got the insecurity of things have all gone wrong for him, and he's trying to find a way through, and he's a bit depressed, and he's just not quite himself. And it gets solved in a really cool way, in a way that is not a cheat. So it works well. The villain works well. The supporting characters work well. You just have the feeling there's more of the film that's cut out, and there's a lot of gaps in the film. So they've got lots of stuff where Taika Waititi, the director, likes eccentric films and he likes weird films, and lots of wonderful weird sequences throughout it. It just feels like there should be more. It feels like a heavy Harryhausen film where you've lost a monster or two within the story that should be there. It's that kind of feeling to it. It's like there should be more adventure elements within this adventure, and there's not enough of those. But the stuff that's there is really strong. So, as I came out, I thought that basically Ragnarok was a better film, but this has stronger moments within the film, but it's weaker overall in the story. But there's still some great stuff that's actually better than Ragnarok. So it's a weird combination of the film, but it's still enjoyable. You just have to go in knowing it's going to be a flawed experience. It's not going to be perfect. It doesn't flow the same way as Ragnarok did. This one's got more, it's a bit clunkier. But it's still got some great stuff, so it's nothing to worry about. The final film I'm going to talk about, mainly because I've already talked about 1 or 2 films in other videos. The final one is Prey, which is a new Predator film. It's just out. This was a dud for me. This was a Jurassic World Dominion for me. And it's been getting good reviews from other people. But I did not like it. I do not like it at all. It's the problem with the film. The simplest problem is it's it takes a setting and then doesn't really invest in it. There's a mode in it where you can hear the dialogue in the Comanche language, but it's really the modern Comanche language. It's not the Comanche language of the 1700s. It's the modern version of that, anyway. And you've got a lot of actors who speak as if they are modern actors, and there's no attempt to make the language feel like it's from another world, another time zone. So throughout the film, you're actually getting dialogue that feels very, modern film era. That's not awkward to our ears because it's from a different sensibility and a different point of view. No, they've actually just plunked down a modern story within this time zone and expect us to buy it, and I don't buy it. And that's the problem. It's not that the film's terrible. There are some good stuff in the second half. Once we get into the actual predator hunt and there's stuff like the trappers, dealing with the predator, there's some good stuff in the second half. There's some nice set piece moments. They're not brilliant, but they're okay. They're visually very good. Took a lot of time on the man of the match in this film is the DP who shot all this stuff and looks gorgeous. But a lot of time he's shooting stuff that isn't really up to snuff dramatic level. That they do the thing that's annoying in a film is that they're trying to make it say it's realistic, and then they take no stock of physical reality. So even early on, there's a sequence early on where you introduced to this a girl who's a young woman basically. She's trying to prove herself to her tribe that she can hunt as well. She doesn't just need to be going to find food and dealing with farming. She can hunt too, which is a very modern sensibility. In these times, people were living hand to mouth. They had to do certain things in summer so they'd stock of food for the winter. They had to. There was a system in play like, you're good at this, you're good at that, just do that so we don't starve to death. There would be no. In that time, people could be nice to each other, and people could talk and have ideas, but there was a sense of, you can't do that physically, you can't do it. Because it's a Disney film, a Disney version of Predator, you've got a girl who acts like a Disney princess who is going to prove it to everyone she can do it. And she's really annoying. It's like so annoying. And they have to keep making sure she's always ready about everything throughout the film. And that's not a dramatic story. Because there's lots of stuff she's obviously wrong about that they never admit to. Like, she gets most of the characters killed. It's her intervention that gets the predator interested in her tribe. She gets so many people killed and it's never brought up. And it's like horrific. And this girl power thing is terrible because it's like she can't physically do the things that they're saying she's doing. There's a gimmick they've got with her, right, which is that she's got this tomahawk, but she's got a little rope at the end of it so she can throw it, then pull it back, and it comes into her hand as if it's a superhero thing. It never gets stuck in things. And it's like, if you did that and you pull it, the rope would probably break because the rope does not look that strong. And she's doing all this stuff without any real training beyond just throwing it at trees a couple of times. And it's like, because at the start she's learned how to do it, and pretty quickly she's a master at it, and there's no like fumbling that would happen to a real person. None of that. And that thing's not breaking all the time, and it's not having all these problems. And it's just, it doesn't work because it ignores physical reality. Like, when you look at Last Mohicans has sequences where they're showing a lot of skill at certain things, but they still have to deal with reality of finding buckshot and finding this and finding that and having tactics. This girl doesn't have any tactics. her tactics seem rubbish, and then they miraculously work. And it's like, I don't think this is a very smart person. They're just saying things work just to see, oh, this is a brave leader in the making. It's like, nah. They've stacked a deck for her in a way that doesn't really work. There's the scene I knew was in trouble. The film was in trouble. I instantly tell we're in trouble. Is early on where she's trying to hunt a deer, and the deer gets away because of something they hear to the side. Her and the dog hunting a deer, and the dog's not making any noise or anything. And deer are very careful about hearing. I don't know that much about hunting, but I know deer, the reason why people have to have the arrows or the guns from a large distance is because they have, for survival, deer have very good hearing and they're very fast. So if they hear you, they run like hell away from you. Like, instantly, they're gone. She stumbles into the thing in a way that deer would have heard her from a mile away. Then the deer starts to run away, and she's chasing deer. And this is a girl who's like 5'3", 5'4". There's no way she could run that fast. And the fact is, if they could keep up, and if the dog chased after the deer, if the dog could keep up with a deer as well, and trying to affect it to make it go the way it wants to go, and it's like the deer would just knock it to the side. The deer's got the horn stuff. It would kill the dog. It's like, it's so stupid a scene. It had nothing to do with reality. And there's stuff where she's, her and her brother are fighting, and she's being a bit of a pain. But they always have to find, no matter how far in the film, they always find a thing to say, oh, she's right. And it's like, no, she's not. She's terrible. She's a terrible character. It's not the actress's fault. The actress is doing her best to make this character seem good. But the character just won't listen to people. And she gets people injured and killed all the time. And her brother keeps on trying to give her a chance. But she's so annoying, her brother acts annoying back to her because of the brother and sister. And the brother was a terrible actor. He's the worst actor in the film. He just, any nuance they could have had is gone because he's so one note. But the whole interaction is one note. It's like a modern relationship between a brother and sister done in that time. Instead, where he'd be the hunter and she'd be a farmer, basically. And if she wanted to prove herself, she'd have to do it in less obvious ways and less insulting ways to everyone else. And they've got all the hunters always saying to her, oh, you're terrible, girls can't hunt. As if they were like kids in a high school. You know, that's literally what it is. It's literally like watching a movie set in an American high school. And she has to prove herself. Instead, it's physical stuff, and it's terrible. And there's, even later on, she goes for a wander to hunt. She's the one who sees there's something up with the predator. There's something weird going on. And she doesn't convince anyone else there's something weird going on. So she goes out herself. Rather than saying, okay, there's something weird going on, I'll have to protect my tribe. She goes off and chases it. And they all have to come and find her. They all get killed. She takes out most of the hunters from that tribe by being stupid. It's a really annoying character trait. And it's like, almost like she's a hero, and it's like, no, she's an awful person. They should have left her to die. And they try to do a hero's journey thing, but a hero's journey has to learn stuff from the mistakes. They don't give her mistakes to make. She doesn't learn anything. All she's getting is, I'm as good as I thought I was. It's the most narcissistic character you can possibly have in a film. It's awful. It's just awful. It's like all the tropes done really badly. And the dialogue's atrocious. The dialogue's just terrible. It's so modern and so awful. And they try and do a Comanche language to say, oh, like we're being respectful. But you're not being respectful if you know the actual rules of that time and why the rules were in place. The rules were in place. It's not like, oh, the men are holding women down. It's like, no. They're all together to survive. The men are going hunting because they're physically able to do that. The women are doing these other things to keep the thing going and cooking things because they're good at that, and it's like, it's a survival thing. If you're in a society that's more elevated in the sense of it's more stuff, then there's choices. But in this case, there's no choice. It's like, you're living hand to mouth, you're trying to survive, you do what you can. There's no real space for someone's ego. But here, it's all about the ego. It's all about narcissism of how great she thinks she is. And she wanders around for a good 20 minutes in the film, seeing signs of the predator. And it's like... And see, there's a couple of nice shots of all these buffalo that have been skinned when these are by the trappers. There's some nice bits involved with that. And her dealing with bear and being terrible. But she's so incompetent dealing with the bear at a point. It's annoying because it's like, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. You're barely trained and you try to kill the bear. What do you expect was going to happen? And then, of course, after that, she's suddenly Superwoman. She figures out everything straight away. Yeah, it's a film where a skill level is up and down depending on what the scene needs. There's no consistency to it. They haven't done the work so that there's a consistent character through the film. It's just like, it changes whatever they need for the scene to keep the plot going. And then we get to the second half where it's basically the trappers and her brother and a few Indian hunters who get killed pretty early versus the Predator. And the Predator's rubbish. The Predator's awful in this film. The reason is, in the original, and even in the sequels, they try and keep the Predator mysterious. Here, you see the Predator all the time. He's everywhere. You see all his toys. And what you realise is, he's terrible as a hunter. Like, he uses his toys all the time, and he doesn't do anything with himself. And he's fighting dogs, like wild wolves and things, and a bear. But he's got all the technology to kill them. When he takes on the hunters, he's all the technology. It means it's not a fair fight, it's just a massacre. So it's basically like someone playing a video game in easy mode. That's all it is. He's a terrible fighter. And there's no surprise he's killed at the end, because he's absolutely awful Predator. He's embarrassing. There's no tension because of that. I mean, throughout the film, there's no sense of tension, because the girl character's so overpowered in a sense of, oh, they're going to protect her, and always make her look good, even when she's behaving terribly. And the Predator's terrible. So there's no real competition, and there's all that stuff about, oh, he doesn't see me as a competition, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's awful. It's just like repeated, like, non-stop. It's in case you're too stupid to get it. And it's like, you never need to say that. If a better written film would have just implied that, and would have implied everything we're doing throughout the film, and would have written the scenes better, to be honest, and had her consistently getting better and learning. And a better film should have forced into being a hunter. Like, she's got skills and she's forced to be a hunter because of the Predator causing problems. Instead, she just strikes out all the time and brings the Predator to them. Like I said before, she literally brings the trouble to her. And at the end, it's terrible. She's got the things that she can throw and pull back, and it works like it's a magic trick. And she's got all these heavy men on top of her trying to fight, and she can kick the hell out of them, apparently. Even though all they had to do was just collapse on her and she'd have her done for. I mean, physical reality is not there. It's sort of like an episode of Buffy where she's fighting the vampires and staking them. There's no sense of physical reality, even though it's trying to sell physical reality. It should have been killed instantly. It's like, there's no way. I mean, she's fighting against a Predator at the end. It's like, there's no way. She'll be dead in 2 minutes. And it's just nonsense. There's like, the reason the first one worked was Schwarzenegger's so huge and he's up against someone even bigger than him. And even Schwarzenegger looks small in comparison to the Predator. This one, she's so small, and it's like, the idea is her intelligence will get her through. Well, she's not that intelligent. Plot mechanics got her through. There's a bit early on where she gets stuck in quicksand, and as soon as you see it, you think, okay, that's the end, and that's how they're going to kill the Predator. And it is. And there's a trick with the Predator's aiming system, but it's one of the things, that's the reason why the Predator's so stupid, is like, it would know that if that's how you work a gun in this world, it would have a switch to turn that off. It knows it. It gets killed by something it would know how to not do. Like, it's the way we would drive a car or something. It's just, there's no way it would fall for this, and it's like, the film's full of that kind of stuff. It's like people falling for stuff they should never fall for, just to make this character look good. It's so, I mean, for all the little bits, there's a good bit where they're getting the predators killing everybody, all these hunters in this fog. There's one good scene, even though it's not particularly brilliant. It's just well shot. But the predator's so overpowered, he's killing people left and right for no reason. Beyond, he's just a sadist and a bit dumb. So this is it's insulting to the reality of how Indians had to live. You know, and it makes them just all look like mindless jocks. And the Indian system was much more complicated, and the men and women coexisted in different ways. It wasn't modern times where we coexist. They had their own system of how men and women coexisted, and it changed tribe to tribe. So there wasn't a simple one, and this just makes the men just look like horrible people, and the women suffering. And it's like, that's not reality of surviving in a hand-to-mouth situation. It's about, what can you do, what can you do, what can you do? Let's be practical about it. It's just like insulting. And the whole films of that, it's just like trying to do a Predator film and get teenage girls want to see it because they're empowered with this character, and it's like, she's an awful character. She does everything that would get you killed. This is a bad film. This is, annoying as it's well shot, and the director has talent. He did 10 Cloverfield Place, which was a good film. So I was hoping because of that this would be good, but it's like, he didn't write the script, he wrote the story but didn't write the script, and the script kills it. And it's just it's not a good film. So that's the summer films for me. That's just 3 of them. But I thought I'd do a video, see what I thought of them, and I'm hoping you enjoy it. So that's me for now. Bye. I'll be back in a week and a half or something like that. Right. Bye.